Hello, viewers. My name is Gugwa, our host. And as you know, we have been actually presenting various episodes on nature cures. We have done the episodes that is number one and number two of naturopathy. However, today we want to go straight to the second principle, which is hygienic principle. Now, with me actually in studio is my brother, a good friend, Daktare Nyasani, who is going actually to take us through the next principle, which is hygienic principle. And it is actually going to tackle the external hygiene and sanitation and the internal hygiene and sanitation and the role of actual diet on the internal hygiene and sanitation. Until next time, welcome our viewers.
Welcome for the continuation of our series that we've been having. Straight to the presentation, we want to do the second principle of nature cures, and we're going to do introduction of hygienic principle. Uh, in a simple sense, the aspect of hygiene in good health living. So what we are going to say, let me be audible because of recording. What we're going to do is doing the introduction part of it, and we will continue with the principle in the next series that we're going to have. But as I want to do the introduction to this, let me point us to the Bible, and I want us we read from a chapter and yeah, question. I want us to read from the Bible before we go so far into the presentations. And this reminds me of one key concept of health. And we say prevention is better than cure. And we do have face or a system in various countries that deals with the prevention of diseases, and that is majorly environmental science, or some call it public health as field. Now I want to bring it in a different aspect. Now I'm going to bring it one from the Bible. Basically today I'm going to measure majorly in the Bible, and then from the next presentation we will go to the various practical things that we can learn from this particular principle. So the book is Deuteronomy chapter 23. I'm going to read verse 3. So Deuteronomy chapter 23 verse 3 verse 13 says this: "And thou shalt have a buckle upon thy weapon, and it shall be, when thou wilt easy thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee." Now, this is a very interesting statement I'm reading from the Bible. You see, you may be thinking that the laws of sanitations are only found in a country per se to say, or in World Health Organization. But let me tell you that you see that every law the government or various organizations have put in place, they have drawn their principles from what? From the Bible. So this is very interesting, because when I am in the field of public health, I am expected to maintain high standard of hygiene, and importantly sanitation. It comes to how you dispose rather the human excrete. So here we find in the Bible, God told the house of Israel that when you want to go out with a weapon. It's, something of, for example, a small sword. You put on your waist, and when you go outside for your activities, perhaps you experience the call for nature, you are expected, of course, to go and relieve yourself. I will come why it's very important, that particular normal physiological body activity, or body functioning, body activity rather to say. It's because, you see, when you go outside, you are of course going to produce or to remove from your body waste, or the we call it pollution. So this is not supposed to be left to what? To the atmosphere, or to be left to the environment, because you see, we're going to experience rain. rain will come and sweep it away, and then the result will be later on people will be experiencing various waterborne diseases or various diseases. So here we find God was concerned for the hygiene of his own people. Now I want to continue reading also from the same chapter, verse 14. It says something like this: for the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp. So when God has told them, when you go for the call of nature, ensure that when you get out of that particular point, you have covered it. Then he gives a reason. He says that, you see, I am going to be passing amidst your camp. Let me ask you now. Let me ask you. Do you think there's something that our human waste can have an effect to God? I hope you know it can't affect him in any way. But you see, God is giving this particular command, and then he enjoined it to his own divine command. So he makes it to be as his own. When you don't do it, it's as if you're going to affect him. But you see, God here is simply interested for our health. So that is the very first thing I'm going to read from the Bible. Then I begin this particular introduction in this sense. Now, when I'm going to speak about hygienic principle, I am not only referring to the external, I'm also referring to the internal. Now, that's very important. You see, in here, only sanitation, the way that we know it, that we are going to deal with cleanness of the environment, perhaps food hygiene, those things. But it's deeper than that, because it goes even to the internal. Because remember, in the various presentations that have passed, we said, what is disease? Disease, we said, is accumulation of toxins or human waste or various waste in the body that result to disease. So simply, I'm going to measure both external and internal. That is point number one I want you to have in your mind. Now I want to read something here, and it's going to be of great help for me, and for you, the one who is going to follow what I am presenting here. Now I am going to read from a statement which is going to be of importance in our presentation in this aspect. One author said something of the sort, that in the study of hygiene, students should be taught the nutrient value of different foods. Now, so when we were speaking here about the hygienic principle, now it brings to your mind, why have I said that I am not measuring in the externals, but I am also measuring also in what? In the internal. Now, that's very important. So when you're going to enter into a class of hygiene, you're supposed to be taught also the nutritive value of what? Of various foods that you're going to take. Why? Because this food that you take into your body are going at the end of the day to be digested, and then to be digestion takes place, assimilation takes place, and then we're going to have excretion of those particular waste. But if you take a wrong type of food, or a wrong item that is called food into your body, actually it is going to be a waste in your body. I can call it is going to be a dirty thing that you're going to deposit in your own body. So she says this, that in every class of hygiene, students should be taught hygiene, rather nutritive value of various foods. The concentrated and stimulating diet also of foods deficiency in elements of nutrition should be made plain. Now, she mentioned these particular types of items which we do take. She mentions tea, coffee, fine flour bread, pickles, coarse vegetables, curries, and condiments, and various foods. She says many as students has broken down as a result of using such foods. Why? Because many a penny child incapable of vigorous effort of mind and body is the victim of impoverished diet. Grains, fruits, nuts, and vegetables in proper combinations contain all the elements of nutrition, and when properly prepared, they constitute the diet that best promotes both physical and mental strength. when God gave the laws of hygiene, He gave them, and then they were expected to be followed. Now, let me continue a bit about the external laws of hygiene. Now, it is expected that when we have a dirty environment, that environment should be cleansed or should be cleaned. Now, that's the same concept which is found in the Bible, number one, because when God gave that law, He gave it because He was concerned for the health of His people. So I do believe that God still is more concerned for our health today, and therefore He must be concerned for our hygiene today. That means God has a say in our hygienic condition and our hygienic status. Now, I want to, when I read that particular verse, let me now give this particular statement that a thorough sanitary regulations were enforced from the verse that we have read, and these were enjoined on the people not only as necessary for health, but also the condition of retaining among them the presence of Holy One. So very important. So sanitation or hygiene is not only a necessity for us being healthy, but is also a divine requirement. Both our external health and also our internal health. Now, when I talk about internal health, now I'm moving an internal hygiene. So our external and internal hygiene, God has a say in that. Now, I want to state this particular point. You see, if you have a clean environment, various bacteria and germs cannot thrive. And that's why our kitchens need to be what? Clean. Our living room need to be clean. And every place where we dwell has to be clean, including our beddings have to be clean. And not forgetting where we sleep. So how do we maintain cleanliness in our kitchen? One is proper cleaning and proper washing of the places whereby we cook from, and proper maintaining and handling of waste that we produce or generate. The second thing is our living room and our bedrooms should be in a way that whereby it can access natural right, okay, natural sunshine and light, so that at the end of the day, if there is any germ or bacteria in the room, they can be sterilized by the effect of light. So those are various ways in which you can maintain good hygiene in the environment where you stay. Now, now after saying that we need to maintain proper hygiene in our living places, I want to also state something that is of importance to us in this particular presentation. Let me find some particular notes here. I want to read the statement, and then I am bringing this introduction to an end about the hygiene of our premises and our dwelling places. One author that I do love reading from her writings said some statement here that I want you to pay keen attention and pick key important concepts from them. She said something of the sort, families have been afflicted with fever. Some have died, and the remaining portion of the family circle have almost murmured against their maker because of the distressing bereavement, when the sole cause of all this sickness and death has been the result of their own carelessness. Now that's so solemn. That you see, many times we have cried out to God, many times we have murmured, and many times we have actually pointed all the predict to God, and we say that it's because God has allowed it to happen. But many cases, not all of course, many people have gone to the graves because of our own carelessness. Carelessness in our hygiene, external hygiene, how we handle our own toilets, carelessness of what we eat into our bodies, that the end of the day is going to make our body to be a dump site of depositing waste in terms of junk foods. Anyway, she makes this particular statement I want you to consider. The impurities about their own premises have brought upon them contagious diseases. Impurities in their own premises, where you stay. Let me ask you, do you have impurities where you stay? And when these impurities bring to you contagious diseases, for example, having cough, having unexplained fever, having respiratory diseases, and then we fail to trace cause to effect, and then we murmur to God, or perhaps rush to go and take a drug, forgetting to remove the very cause of that particular disease. Now she says something of like this: and sad afflictions which they charge upon God. You see, it's so sad that we cause things to come upon ourselves, and then we charge these afflictions to God. And you see, all of them, they are all attributed to our carelessness in one way or the other. Now she says this also: every family that prizes health should cleanse their houses and their premises of all decaying substances. Now, remember where I had said something like this. When the laws of sanitation were given to the house of Israel, they were not only given as a necessity for health, but they were given as a divine requirement. So here, if you value your health, it is also expected you to cleanse your house where you live from all impurities, from all decaying substances. The decaying substances can include the way you manage your own solid waste in your house. When you have washed those utensils, you see, we become too careless, whereby actually remember one madam said that we become too careless and lazy to the point whereby when you have used one item, you don't wash it, you place it somewhere else, you go and take the clean one, use it, put it down, you continue doing that. At the end of the day, you are going to accumulate those waste in your house, and they will decay, and when they decay, of course, they will produce some fall, and that fall will attract various germs, which of course the consequences at the end of the day will be you contaminating a contagious disease. So I want to say, if you do value your health, please make sure you have sweet premises where you live. Now I want to read the second verse statement, then I turn back to my Bible. God commanded that the children of Israel should in no case allow impurities of their person or all of their clothing. Now this is very interesting. God did not only give divine and strict instruction about cleanliness when it comes to individuals, but also to their what? Clothings. How is your clothes? Are they clean? And if they're not clean, let me ask you a question. You see, when you walk in the environment, you are going to, because nowadays we don't have an ideal environment. So everywhere we have germs, by the way. So when you're going to pass, you'll be carrying various germs of various strains in your own clothes. And whereby if you have the same cloth now and then, what will be the result? The result will be you will be having germs in your body, and if by chance your immunity is going to be lowered, or your immunity is going to be suppressed in due to one reason or the other, you succumb to a disease due to what we call opportunistic uh, pathogens or opportunistic infections. Now she says this statement also: those who had any personal uncleanness were shut out of the camp. Now before I continue, I want to read another statement that is found in the Bible. A person was found to have impurity for example, having a disease that was called leprosy. Now, leprosy is a skin disease, and it is a communicable disease actually. These people, there is a way they were handled. Now, in the field of we call number one, we have isolation and quarantine. You think they are new things? They are not new things. They are found, in fact, in the Bible. That tells me that actually it reminds me of the same point that I had given, that the laws of various nations, they have been derived from the Bible. So the Bible is the great standard of moral character. So I read this statement from the Bible. It is going to come from the book of Numbers, chapter 5. It's verse 2. It says something like this: Command the children of Israel that they put out of their camp every leper and everyone that hath an issue and somehow is defiled by the dead. Now, this is very interesting. You see, God is saying that if in the camps of Israel there was a person who was diagnosed with a leper or leprosy, or was a leper, therefore he had leprosy, this person was expected to be taken out of the camp. That means this person was to be isolated. Why? Because if this person was to be left to continue living among the people who are healthy, it was to spread the disease. So God is the very first public health officer I know in the world, because he came up with a strategy of ensuring he controlled the spread of contagious disease like leprosy. The second thing is, if there is a person who uh, came in contact with uh, the dead or the carcass, this person also was to be isolated. Now, do you know why? Because now assume that you came in contact with a body and this body had a contagious disease. You see, you become a potential carrier of that disease. And therefore, because it is not known whether you have the disease or not, it's good for you to be taken out and you to be examined. Now, that is what we call quarantine somebody, or quarantining a vessel, or quarantining a particular living creature. Occupation, depending on the various factors including the immunity of an individual, the disease symptoms and signs may not manifest. Therefore, it's good the person to be taken out and to be placed, to be examined, and to see if really he has a disease or not. And if he doesn't have a disease, then he would be brought back to the camp. Now, what about the person who was found with the disease, has been taken out, he has been cleansed? Now, before he was re-registered back in the healthy people, something had to be taken. Now, I do believe most people who are watching this are Christians and they believe in Christ. Now, Christ says in the Bible he never came to change any iota of the commandments of God. In fact, he came to enforce them. Now, he did something very interesting. I want to read from the Bible. I want to look for it. It's in the book of Matthew, chapter 8. I'm reading from verse 1 to verse 3. It reminds me of what I said in my very first presentation. Christ was not only interested in making people to be healthy, but also he was interested in their spiritual life. Now, verse 1, let me read it from verse 2. And behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou willest, thou canst make me clean. So this person knew that he was not clean. Why? Because he was a leper. He had the skin disease, leprosy, which is communicable and contagious. Verse 3, and Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. What happened immediately? And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. We thank God for this. Now, my point of interest is this. Now, after a person who was isolated of a disease, what was expected to be followed, or what is done in our system in simple sense, is this. Verse 4, and Jesus said unto him, See, thou tell no man, but go thy way, shew thyself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a testimony unto them. So when Christ made the leper to be whole, to be cleansed, he commanded the leper to go to the priest to be examined to see if he has been set free from the leper. It tells you simply that even Christ himself, our Savior and our example, valued the concepts of hygiene, both externally and the internal concepts of hygiene. Now, let me read out the very final statement and then we close this one, then we'll continue later on. So, what brought me here is a statement that I want to read. Now, those who had any personal uncleanness were shut out of the camp until evening, and then were required to cleanse themselves and their clothing before they could enter the camp. Also, they were commanded of God to have no impurities upon their premises within a great distance of the encampment, lest the Lord should pass by and see their uncleanness. So we have the point. So I want to finish by saying this. God was not only interested in their own premises to be sweet and having a sweet smelling and having pure air, but he was also interested in the encampment, in the compound. That tells you that your compound itself need to be clean. It has to be clean always because God value our own hygiene. That is the introduction of our first part in hygienic principle. Now the next thing we're going to do in the next series, we're going to deal now with the internal principles of hygiene. Remember, I said it is internal and external. I've covered majorly external, and we're going to come up with a second important thing in this particular point is about the principle or the methods we can use to cleanse our own body from impurities and toxins. Thank you for watching. May God bless you. May we meet next time. Hello viewers. Before you, I'm Nyasani Weekly. I want to appreciate you so much for following the various presentations that we've been making. God value our health and also our spiritual life. So I also do value not only our spiritual life but also our health life, our health conditions. Now, what we are doing in this particular series is the presentation of various principles of nature cures. Now, this is the second principle that you're going to cover, and the principle is hygienic principle. We won't finish it in the very first in the very first presentation after this particular short introduction, but we're going to do a very short introduction of hygienic principle. Kindly, we want to ask you that you may continue following with us and be patient with us because perhaps you may not be able to present every day because of the constraint of times. So you can check our YouTube channel. Also, you can check also my channel, which is COS Ministries, because we do link them there and find the updates. God be with you.